Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about 6 SQL query interview questions. Now, to answer questions like these, you have to have a good understanding of databases and how they work. Now, in order to, and another thing that you have to have is that you have to be able to answer these questions on the fly. So if you're in an interview and they ask you the following questions that I'm about to show you, you have to know how to answer these on the fly, because these are just some general questions that they expect you to know. So here are the sample questions. Now, the reason up here of why I wrote sample questions is because the question can definitely vary depending on the particular person that you're interviewing with. For these queries that we're going to be writing, I'm going to be using the employee table. And sometimes on interviews you may get different tables, like customer table or whatever table that, they want you to execute these queries on. Alright, so the first question is, return the employee record with the highest salary. Question number 2, return the highest salary in the employee table. The third question, return the second highest salary from the employee table. The fourth question, select a range of employees based on ID. Fifth question, return an employee with the highest salary and the employee's department name. And the last question is to return the highest salary, employee name, and the department name for each department. So these are the two tables that we're going to be using, the employee table as well as the department table. Just wanted to show you exactly what these tables are going to look like. So the employee table consists of these columns: the employee ID, first name, last name, gender, position, department ID, and the salary. Whereas the department table only consists of 2 columns, which are the department ID as well as the department name. So without any further ado, let's start writing these queries. Alright, so I'm going to be using Microsoft SQL Server in order to show you guys how to write a query for each one of the questions that I've mentioned in the previous slides. And what I've done here is pretty much just display the employee table as well as the department table right below here. Alright, so we're going to start this off with the first SQL query question. What I want to do is zoom this in. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is to return, just give me a second. Okay, so return the employee record with the maximum salary. So, how would you do this? We know we're going to be returning a record, so what we're going to do is just use this. Select all from employee where salary equals, and then we want to use this thing called a subquery, which is pretty much just a query within a query. Select max salary from employee. I'm going to break down each one of these for you so it hopefully makes sense. Alright, so the first line that we have here is the select. Okay, so what we're doing here, we're selecting, in this particular query, the record. The next line we're choosing, let me put employee, forgot an E. So the next thing that we're doing, we're choosing the table that we're selecting from. And then this last line here, what we're doing is using this word clause to filter through the records that we want. So we want to return the record that has a salary, and that salary has to be equal to the maximum salary from the employee table. That's it. So if I were to execute this query, let's see what we get. Execute. Go down here, and this is what we have: Stacy Jacobs. Now, Stacy Jacobs, she does have the highest salary. She is making $730,000 per year, which is definitely believable. Who knows? She may own businesses or something. But this is Stacy Jacobs. And what we've done here, we've pretty much just selected the record, and this record is, we're returning records, but it's based on this filter. So we're saying the salary has to be equal to the max salary. So that's how we would write a query for that particular scenario. All right, so let's move on to this next one. Select the highest salary in the employee table. Pretty simple. Select max salary from employee. Simple, right? We don't want to return a record. We're simply just returning the maximum salary. So we go here, go up here, we run this, execute, and then we go down here, and see how we're not returning the record. We're only returning the highest salary. Okay, let's keep this truck moving. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be talking about is selecting the second highest salary in the employee table. Now, this is a fairly common question on interviews, and a lot of people, I think, get confused about questions like this, but this is how you would go about writing a query for it. You're going to go select max salary. Okay, now there's a reason that we're selecting this max salary first, and I'm going to get to that later. I'm just going to continue to write out this query. Select max salary from employee where salary not in. Now, this not in is basically used to add a filter to this query that is going to be the opposite of equal. So basically, that is not equal. We're pretty much saying that is not equal to this. Okay, so we're going to go select max salary from employee. Alright, so I don't know, this mouse is too sensitive. Alright, so the first line, we want to select the max salary. The second line, we have the employee table that we're selecting from. But this where clause down here, we're filtering through the values that we want. So we want to select the max salary, but the salary is not going to be equal to the maximum salary from employee. So what's going to happen here, if it's not equal to the maximum salary, then it's going to be equal to the second maximum salary, or the second highest salary. Hopefully this makes sense to you guys. If you have any questions, just please leave them in the comments below. But this query is pretty straightforward, and as I said before, this not in means not equal. So we're going to run this query now. I'm going to go up here and run this query. Alright, execute. And we have 90,000. Now that is the second highest salary in that list. And in order to verify that, we're just going to run this employee table one more time. Alright, so as you can see here in the salary section, the highest salary is, as we said before, Stacy Jacobs. She's making $730,000. I wish I was making that a year. And the second highest salary is this person, John Henry, who's making $90,000. And as you can see, if you were to go through each one of these salaries, he is in fact making the second highest salary. Okay. So let's keep it going. Alright, so for this next one, what we want to do is select a range of employees based on ID. Now when you're working with range, you want to use the keyword between. But let's just start off with selecting all from employee where Then we're going to say employee ID between, and we want these between two values, between, let's just say 2003 and 2008. Let's say that 2003, 2008, and 2008. Okay, so let's go through each line one more time so that you guys have a clear understanding of what's going on. What I'm doing is I'm selecting all the records from the employee table, and then right here the where clause is going to allow us to filter where the employee ID is between these two values, 2003 and 2008. So I'm going to get a range of records. I'm going to run this, go up here, execute, see what we get. Exactly what we wanted. So we're selecting all the records from the employee table where the employee ID is between 2003 and 2008. Okay, so make our way to this question now. So now we're going to return the employee name, the highest salary, and the department name. So we're going to walk through this. Now notice that we have the department or the department name, which is not within this employee table. So I'm going to run these two tables one more time. Go down here. We have these two tables, the employee table and the department table. Okay, so if you realize there's no department name in this employee table, but it does have a reference to the department table with this department underscore ID, and that's what we're going to use in order to pull in whatever value we're looking for. Alright, so let's start off with this. I want to select employee, select, as we have down here, we have a first name and last name. So select first name, last name, comma, salary, and department name. And this department name is going to come from this table right here. Now you may be asking yourself, how are we going to pull that department name? Well, I'm going to show you. So we've written everything that we want to select it. Now what we want to do is go from employee, and with this employee, I want to join this employee with an inner join. And I want to join this table with the department table. And we're going to just give some variables to each one of these tables so that it's a whole lot easier to reference. So with this first name, we're just simply going to use e dot first name, which means that this first name is coming from the employee table. E dot last name comes from the employee table. Then we have the E dot salary, and then this department name is actually going to come from department, so we're going to go D dot department name. And now when we're doing an inner join, another thing that we need is to join these two tables based on a common column between the two tables. So as you can see here, we have a foreign key in this employee ID table that is referencing the primary key in this department table. So we're going to join these two tables based on this department ID. So we want to join this on E dot department ID, D dot department ID. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see this. You see what I'm doing here? So far I've grabbed the first name, last name, salary, as well as the department name from the employee, and then I'm interjoining this with the department, and now I'm joining them based on ID. So if we just simply run this now, what we're gonna get is this. So what we want is the highest salary. So we're not getting the highest salary, we're getting all of the salaries. So what we need to do is to grab the highest salary. So this is what we're going to do. Add a filter or a where salary so right here, where the salary in select max salary from employee. Alright, so we run this now. Let's see what we get. So what we get here is now an employee, first name and last name. We also want to display that employee's salary, and we also want to grab that department underscore name. And as you can see here, this is how we're grabbing that department underscore name, is that we're joining these two tables by ID, and that's how we're grabbing that department name, because we wouldn't be able to access this department name if the two tables were not joined, simply because the employee does not have a department name. So in order to grab that department name, these two tables have to be linked together, the employee table as well as the department table. Alright, last but not least, we're going to do this now. So what I need to do now is to return the highest salary, the employee name, and the department name for each department. So as you can see here, we've only grabbed the highest salary from the sales department, but let's say we also wanted to display the highest salary in the IT department as well. So this is how we would do it. We'll pretty much do the same, write the same query. Select e.first name, e.last name, e.salary, d.department name from employee E, enter join department D on E dot department ID equals D dot department ID. And this query is going to be pretty much the same, but we're going to make a couple of changes in this subquery here. So we want to go where salary in select max salary from employee. We're going to get the same query if we execute this, but what we need to do is add this thing called group by. Group by. And this group by is basically going to be used to group records together based on a column that you enter. So we're going to group this by department ID. Alright, so we're going to group that by department ID. Now, that's the only thing that we've changed here. Now what we're going to get once we execute this query is we're going to get employees from each department that have the highest salary in their assigned department. Alright, so we're going to take this and we want to run this, and we're going to see what we're going to get back. Okay, exactly what we were looking for. So in the IT department, there's an employee named Bunny Adams, and she's making $80,000, which is the highest salary in the IT department. Whereas Stacy Jacobs, as we've seen before, is making $730,000 in the sales department. So that's pretty much the entire video. That's what I wanted to show you guys. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you've learned something here. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next one.